Hi, I'm Aaron, 31, and last month I learned that some fires don't start in buildings. They start with a 3 a.m. call from your own mother. It was 3:04 a.m. when my phone hit the floor. I was already awake. Sleep is something I only pretend to do between shifts. My room above the station gym was dark, except for the red glow of the alarm clock, an old one, the kind that blinks like a warning. I didn't check who was calling. I just picked up. Aaron! My mom shrieked like I'd done something wrong by existing. It's Jess. She's in the hospital. ICU. We need $22,000 now or they'll leave her without support. We'll stick him with all the bills. I didn't even flinch. Just sat up, bare feet hitting the floor like I was about to sprint into a fire. My heart already was. What happened? I asked. Don't argue. Just send it. We know you have savings. You're the only one who. In the background, Dad's voice cut in, heavy and sharp. If he cared, he'd already be wiring it. Don't waste time explaining to a hero. And that's when I said it. The words came out like steel. Call your perfect son. Then I hung up. Just like that. Phone face down. Head on the pillow. I didn't move. My hands were shaking, but I didn't move. You have to understand, I've always been the reliable one. The fixer. The sure, I'll spot you guy. Not because I had extra. Because I thought that's what family meant. Being the one who didn't let it fall apart. And they knew that. They counted on it. Every time. Until now. At 7:11 a.m., a new call came. Different number. This is Sergeant Kovalchuk from the 12th Precinct, the voice said. We need you to come down to the station regarding your sister and your parents. That's when I knew something was truly broken. Not just cracked. Ruined. I threw on my station hoodie, the one with oil stains on the sleeves, and left without even brushing my teeth. On the drive, I couldn't stop thinking about Jess. Last month, she showed up at my place with a busted lip and a trash bag of clothes. I held frozen peas to her cheek while she cracked a joke about them being organic. That's who she was. Messy. Sweet. Scraped up by the world and still trying to be soft. I gave her a couch. A phone. A second chance. And now I was being told she was in the ICU. The same sister who, 2 weeks ago, I caught using my emergency credit card without asking. Small charges at first. Then a gas station withdrawal. I said nothing. Because I knew what it meant to fall apart quietly. But this? This was loud. At the precinct, I sat in a metal chair while the sergeant pushed a notepad across the table. Your sister's stable, he said. Panic attack. Dehydration. And trace oxycodone in her system. I closed my eyes, relief and fear mixing into something sharp. Your parents, he continued, called the hospital and demanded you pay $22,000 to activate support services. That's not how hospitals work. I nodded. Of course not. But that's not the point. The point is they thought it could work, because they thought I'd do it. No questions. Just hand over my air while they stood in the smoke. Then the sergeant pulled out an evidence bag. Inside? A sticky note. My handwriting on one side, Wi-Fi and router info from my apartment. On the back, a list of numbers. My spare card's last 4. My bank login digits. Someone flipped my note over and made it a map to my wallet. I didn't need to ask who. You want to press charges? The sergeant asked. I stared at the bag. At the thing that used to be trust. Then I said what felt impossible. Yes. And that's when the door burst open. My mother. Hair perfect. Face pure outrage. Aaron! She hissed. What is this? You misunderstood me. You were asleep. She turned to the sergeant. Officer, this is family business. We are not criminals. But I wasn't listening to her. I was looking at my own signature on the form in front of me. Shaky, then steady. Like a person who just stepped out of a burning house and realized he didn't want to rebuild it. When my father showed up, his voice was cold. Real brave son. Hiding behind paperwork. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just looked him in the eye and said, You can stop calling me son. I'm Aaron. And that was the beginning. After I left the precinct, I didn't go home. I went straight to the station, walked past the engine bay, nodded to the guys who knew not to ask, and sat down with a mug of coffee that tasted like ash and old decisions. My captain slid a donut near my elbow and didn't say a word until I picked it up. Then he said, "We've got a hydrant drill at 10 if you want noise." Noise sounded good. By noon, my phone was a crime scene. Texts, voicemails, missed calls. They started soft. "Mom, we're humiliated. This is so unlike you." "Dad, you'll pay for this." Unknown number. "How could you do this to your sister?" "Evan. Bro, WTF. You really tell the cops?" I turned my phone face down. Then I went outside to wash the rig. Let the hose thump in my palm, let the steel scream under water pressure, let the noise scrape the guilt from my skin. At 3:07 p.m. Jess texted from the hospital, "I'm sorry." 4 words. Like they could unburn a house. She followed it with, "I didn't know about the cards. I swear. I told them to ask you. I didn't know they already had your numbers. Please don't hate me." Then, "They want me to go to a program. I think I should." I stood in the garage, phone in one hand, wrench in the other, trying to decide if I wanted to scream or drive to the hospital with a hoodie and a sandwich. I typed, "You should. I'll help with the program. Not with lies." She sent back a crying face and a heart. I stared at it for a long time, then went back inside and started changing every password I'd ever used. Bank logins. Card pins. Even the code to my gym locker. I wasn't angry. Not exactly. I was clear. That night, I went home to my apartment and threw the sticky note, the one with the Wi-Fi and card numbers, into the trash like it was a Molotov. I changed my router name to "No More Free Rides." I made a list on the back of an old shift calendar. Things that are mine. My name. My paycheck. My breath. My damn peace. The next day, Evan tried to reappear. Classic Big Brother move. A text, "I was just trying to help Jess. You always twist things." Followed by a screenshot of a payment decline notice from a used car dealer. $7,000 down. Application rejected. I stared at it. Then I got a call. Blocked number. I didn't pick up. It went to voicemail. Mom's voice, "Syrup with knives, if you go through with this, you are dead to us. You hear me, Aaron? Dead." I sat on the edge of my bed, listening to the woman who raised me tell me I didn't exist. Then I added one more thing to the list. What I don't know anymore. An apology for protecting myself. I called my bank. Froze the spare card. Asked for a passphrase only I'd know. The banker on the line said, "That's a good idea." Like he knew my family personally. That weekend, Jess entered a 30-day treatment program. She sent me one last text before they took her phone. "They want me to say I hit rock bottom. But honestly? That night on your couch, with the peas and the silence? That was the bottom. This is me climbing." I replied, "Climb. I'll spot you, not carry you." She didn't text again. But I got a call from her counselor 3 days later, with her permission. "She's trying," the woman said. "But she's scared." "She should be," I said. "Not of me. Of what happens if she doesn't get out. She said you're the one person she wants to come visit. Eventually. Tell her I'll be there when she's ready for the truth." The counselor paused. "She said you always were?" "At the firehouse, I started sleeping better. Top bunk. Cool air. No phone vibrating under my pillow like a ghost. The air tasted different. Like I'd been breathing other people's smoke my whole life and didn't even know it." 3 weeks later, a letter arrived at the station. Not an email. Not a text. A physical letter. Official-looking envelope. No return address. It was addressed to me, but it smelled like my mother's perfume, something floral and expensive and always just a bit too strong. I didn't open it. I handed it to our admin and said, "Log it under no contact. Per the order." She nodded like that was normal. Like we had a whole drawer for mom violations. Then Evan showed up. Just like that. Mid-shift, leaning against the hood of a dented Infiniti with sunglasses and confidence he couldn't afford. I saw him through the bay doors, and before he could walk in, I stepped outside. He lifted his hands like a preacher mid-sermon. "Look, man. This went too far. Mom freaked. Dad panicked. Jess was sick. You know how they are." You used my numbers, I said. Calm. Like the floor hadn't tilted. He tilted his head, grinning. I might have taken a photo once. For emergencies. You're not the emergency, I said. You're the fire that calls itself weather. He rolled his eyes. Here we go with the metaphors. Spare me the firefighter wisdom. Then spare me the lies. He stepped closer. Close enough for me to smell the cologne he definitely couldn't afford. You want to be a martyr? Fine. But you're ruining the family. You know that, right? No, I said. I'm just not funding the family fantasy anymore. His voice dropped. You think you're better than us? I think I'm done being used by you. He laughed. Mean small. Okay. You want to play hard? When Dad cut you off senior year, who gave you a place to crash? You mean the couch with springs that bruised my spine? You charged me rent. Then borrowed that same rent for gas the next day. He flinched. Not because it wasn't true, but because I remembered. He tried one last angle. Classic Evan. Guilt wrapped in concern. You know Mom's heart isn't great. This stress. I raised a hand. Don't. No more bodies in front of the truck. Not hers. Not Jess's. Not mine. He stared at me like he didn't recognize who I was. Good. That meant I was finally becoming someone else. He got back in the Infinity and peeled away like he just won something. He hadn't. That night, Jess's counselor texted me. She asked if you could bring her a hoodie. Something with history. I knew exactly which one. The old station hoodie. The one I was wearing the night she crashed on my couch with a busted lip and a garbage bag of dreams. The one she cried into when I said, "We'll make a plan. We'll get you out." I washed it, folded it, dropped it off at the front desk of the rehab center with her name and no note. She didn't need a speech. She needed warmth. 2 days later, I got another call from the precinct. Mom had submitted a rebuttal statement. Full of holes. Full of half-truths and rewritten timelines. They needed a supplemental from me. So I went. Same metal chair. Same sergeant. While we were talking, I heard a voice in the hallway. Too loud. Too familiar. Dad. Kid thinks he's a saint. He was saying. Wants to teach us a lesson. The sergeant raised an eyebrow. Can I say one thing to them after we're done? I asked. He considered it. Short. When I stepped into the hallway, both my parents turned like I was gravity, and they were falling. Dad's mouth loaded for impact. Mom's eyes already wet. I raised a hand. Don't. They froze. Like I'd rewritten the script. I just came to say 2 things. I said. Calm. Steady. 1. I love Jess, and I will help her get healthy. 2. I am done funding lies, threats, and emergencies you engineer. I looked straight at my mother. If your heart hurts, see a doctor. If your pride hurts, sit with it. Dad scoffed. You think you're better than us? I shook my head. No. I think I'm finally strong enough to stop rescuing you. Then I turned and walked away before they could reload. Outside, the air smelled like rain. I let it. The day Jess hit 30 days sober, she sent me a photo. She was wearing a thrifted sweater, hair pulled up in a messy bun, holding a cheap metal coin stamped with the number 30. The caption read, I'm building a life that doesn't need saving. I stared at it for a long time before sending back a photo of the lake I'd driven to for the weekend. My feet in the water. My phone on Do Not Disturb. I wrote, Me too. A week before that, the court processed the charges. My parents pled down. Attempted fraud with restitution. They had to take a financial ethics course and agree to a no-contact order for 90 days unless it went through a mediator. 90 days. 90 days of silence. That might not sound like much, but for someone who's been on high alert since he was old enough to unplug the toaster before storms, it felt like the deepest exhale of my life. At the firehouse, the guys threw me a small celebration after I completed my rope rescue cert. Grocery store cake. Too much frosting. A hand-drawn banner that said, Not God, in Sharpie because firefighters are relentless with nicknames. It was the first photo of me in years where I wasn't looking half off-screen, checking a phone. That night, I stood in my kitchen and made a new list. Not things I own. Not things I forgive. Things I don't owe. An apology for protecting myself. A loan to someone who calls it love. A seat at a table where I'm the entree. Yes, that sets me on fire. I taped it inside my pantry door where only I would see it. It felt like armor. Then came the aftershocks. My aunt texted, "We'll talk about this at Sunday dinner." I replied, "We don't settle crimes over pot roast." She didn't write back. Evan tried a different tactic. He showed up again. This time, he didn't even try to fake concern. "You made your point," he said. "Now undo it." "I didn't do this," I said. "You did. I just stopped paying for it." He tried his version of empathy. "You know, when Dad cut you off senior year, I let you crash. Remember that? You charged me rent for your couch," I said. "Then borrowed the rent back for gas." He winced. "Truth does that." Then came the threat. "Mom's heart can't take this stress." "Stop," I said. "No more guilt grenades. You don't get to throw bodies in front of me and call it love." He backed off, but not before muttering, "You're not the only one with trauma, Aaron." "No," I said. "Just the only one paying interest on everyone else's." That night, I threw out the last of the letters Mom had mailed to the station, hoping I'd open them if they looked official. One was labeled, "Urgent." Inside was a birthday card. "My birthday was 6 months ago." The card said, "We still love you. You're just making it hard." I shredded it. Love isn't a letter you send after you raid someone's bank account and pretend it's an accident. Love isn't a favor with interest. Love is what Jess and I were rebuilding. Quietly. Like a house with smoke damage. One room at a time. When the 90-day mark passed, the precinct reached out. "You'll be contacted soon," the officer said. "Your parents requested mediation." I laughed. Short. Dry. "They want a refund?" He didn't answer. Instead, I got a message from Jess's counselor. "She's asking if you'll come to her last meeting." As her person. I went. Sat in a folding chair while Jess told a room of strangers that she used to think love meant debt. That asking for help was weakness. That every time she borrowed money, she was borrowing approval. She looked at me and said, "I took his charger. I didn't ask. I didn't apologize. But he gave me a couch and a phone anyway. And when I finally stopped lying, he was still there. Not to fix me. To stand still while I fixed myself." I didn't cry. But something in me unraveled gently. Like a fire hose after pressure. After the meeting, she gave me back my hoodie. Folded. Clean. "You're still my big brother," she said. "Just not my bank." We sat on the curb drinking terrible vending machine coffee. She asked if I'd help her build a budget. Not a bailout. A blueprint. I said yes. And for the first time in our lives, she didn't say, "Just this once." She said, "Every month, I'll show you the numbers. Not to impress you. To stay honest with myself. That's what trust looks like when it's not leaking smoke." 2 months later, the noise faded like sirens in the distance. Not gone. Just quiet enough to live again. Jess completed her rehab program with 42 days clean. We celebrated with takeout on the floor of my apartment. No speeches, no candles, just chicken sauté and peace. She gave me a folded paper. It was her budget. Not a request. A plan. "You said blueprint." She smiled. "So here's the floor plan." I said. "It's good." She said. "It's honest." I paid her first month's phone bill, on a new account, her name only. Not because she asked. Because she earned that much runway. She brought back my hoodie. Clean, folded, tucked into a reusable grocery bag with a note, "Still my safe place, even if I stand on my own now." I kept the note. I washed the hoodie. I wore it anyway. The next weekend, I finally drove to the lake cabin I'd put a deposit on years ago, something I used to call someday, which meant never until now. It was small, drafty, crooked in places. But it faced the water and the sky didn't feel like it was pressing down. For 48 hours, I didn't hear anyone ask for money, help, or forgiveness. I didn't hear myself apologizing for being unavailable. I left my phone on airplane mode and wrote a new list in a beat-up notebook. What peace feels like. Coffee alone with no guilt. Sunlight that doesn't accuse you of wasting time. Laughter that isn't covering a bruise. A lock you bought and don't need to change. The following Monday, A letter came to the station addressed in shaky handwriting. From Mom. I didn't open it. I logged it under the no contact order, gave it to our admin. She raised her eyebrows. Still trying? I nodded. Still not my problem. The truth is, I don't hate them. I just don't owe them. Not my identity. Not my security. Not my sleep. Not anymore. Evan tried one last Hail Mary. A text through a cousin's number. We all make mistakes. You made yours louder. Let's call it even. I didn't reply. Because it wasn't even. It wasn't ever. A week later, Jess texted me a picture, her new place. Tiny. Bright. A mattress on the floor and a corkboard on the wall with quotes from rehab, a calendar, and a printed-out photo of us on the couch, peas on her face, blanket over her knees. Caption, started here. Still standing. I sent back, still proud. That night, I walked home from the station under a sky that didn't feel like it was falling. I passed the family laughing at a food truck, and I didn't feel like the broken one on the outside. I felt like a man with boundaries. Not walls. Just doors I get to lock. And that's the difference. People talk about closure like it's a dramatic slam, a final monologue, a scorched earth goodbye. It's not. Closure is quieter. It's saying, you can be who you are, over there. It's not wishing harm. It's refusing harm. I love my sister. I don't hate my parents. I just love my life more than I love being used. And that's the whole story. Not a revenge arc. Not a tragedy. Just a firefighter who finally learned when to stop running toward flames that don't want to be put out. I'm Aaron. I still fight fires.